The advent of the iPhone has ushered in a new way of interacting with technology. Whether it's in our daily lives or in the movies we watch, like Tony Stark, Minority Report, screens have flooded our lives as parents and, of course, in our children's lives. Consuming media through screens has its ups and downs. If you're a parent trying to strike the balance of watching endless toy reviews and running with scissors, this episode's for you. We're talking Screenless after school on this episode of Three-Dimensional Dads.
Three friends, all dads, exploring every dimension of being a geek.
I'm Jay.
I'm Derek.
And I'm Ian.
And we are not perfect parents. Let's get this out of the way right now. This is important.
Yes.
This is important. We are not perfect. We do not claim to be perfect. So we try to do this screenless after school thing as consistently as possible. But you know what? We're human. We're fallible. It is what it is. But this is more of an aspirational video tonight. Yes.
I have a hard enough time trying not to look at my phone while we're doing these episodes.
Hey, do you guys,
I know. I mean, they're in our lives. Screens. I mean, I have a screen on my wrist. We have screens everywhere, binging, and I have Google Homes everywhere. I feel like screens are just surrounded these days.
I'm telling you, man, it's AI. It's going to take over the world. It's going to be like Terminator, except hopefully not skeletal destruction robots with lasers. So that would be bad.
Well, it's not even just AI. Screens are just so cheap and they're so abundant now.
Yes.
That you could have one anywhere. You could have a tablet in the car. You could have a tablet, just when you're traveling on a plane. You can... TVs are really inexpensive now. You could get a full HD, high-quality 4K TV for like $300. Cheaper than an iPhone now.
They're huge. Every one of them's huge. And they're
absolutely.
Wow.
Not even just talking about little individual screens, right? So we could consume media anywhere.
And we needed to. Remember COVID?
Right. That's one where all the screen stuff, I think the disclaimer's good because during COVID, it went out the window.
Yes.
I'm like, my kids don't have iPad. And like, when you're inside, there are only so many arts and crafts you could do until you're just like, do you want, that stuff.
We kind of talked about it. We were like in one of my classes, we were stuck in the house with COVID and finally let's just go outside. We're done.
Yeah.
We were talking about it in reference to like in Bosnia when Sarajevo was sieged and people were just, 5 years of a siege. And after a little while, they were just walking around like, the snipers might've been out there, but like, it was just, we're done. We're outside, like COVID. It's like we were stuck inside. We had all these screens and finally it was just like fresh air, man. We had to be outside. But they've really affected our not just our lives, but our kids' lives and their education. So I'm a teacher. I know how important it is to use these technologies because we use them all the time. I need to use them all the time, right? There's schools that are paperless schools that they don't use paper at all. That's not exactly, some of our kids, like by law, by their IEPs, have to have printed reading material. But, the foundation of their ability to use tech and not even watch screens as entertainment, but just interface with them is so important. We need to start that responsible use, not only in our homes, but like elementary schools are starting to do this. What is responsible use? We can't run away from this stuff. And as much as we joke like, oh yeah, we're going to screenless every day. No. We need the screens, but we need to teach our kids how to use them responsibly, but also have some fun with it.
Yeah. I think it's really important to recognize too, that technology can enhance, right? When does it help? So my son is really into Lego, right? And there's Lego robotics. You could use, Lego Technic has really great programming interfaces with iPads and stuff that were simple for kids. It's called like scratch programming, where you could actually make something in the real world, right? But then you control it with the iPad. So you're actually using it as a tool. So there's got to strike this balance. Like, is it for entertainment and fun? And lots of other considerations. How much screen time are they getting at school?
Right.
That's another thing to consider. Are they getting screen time at school? Are they using it, for doing work, or are they using it for entertainment? Is it supervised? Something that at my son's school that they do, that I really like is they do a technology agreement with all the kids, like for like doing, responsible, they're going to use technology in a responsible way. They're not going to use it to harm people. You hear a lot about cyberbullying and things too. The other I think important thing to remember is it isn't just even the technology, it's also what they're doing on the screens. A lot of these games or a lot of the programs now that are geared toward kids, it's kind of like that gamification where it's like almost like Vegas. It's almost like gambling. They're trying to make it addictive where you have a dopamine effect.
Mhm.
So I think it's really important to consider, what is your kid using the screen for? Sure, if they're playing with their older sibling, they're playing a video game and they're being interactive, that's one thing. If they're, trying to get hold of your credit card to be getting bonus points on Candy Crush, that's another.
Yeah.
Ian?
And they're smart. I mean, kids will figure stuff out. They really will. It's like, I remember when we just had like Yahoo and like on like, old desktop computers. It's like it was so different for us growing
The internet was boring.
right?
It was
I think
boring.
generally it was boring, and devices had single uses.
Mhm.
Like if you had a camera, it just took pictures.
Mhm.
If you had an iPod, it just played music. It's like, for us, or like a computer was email and maybe checking the news or weather. I mean, it was like printing out MapQuest. It was not all this stuff. Or like a cell phone now, it is 1,000 things in one.
Yes.
And even for us, I mean, I feel like it's hard to show, oh, right now am I working on our script for this episode tonight? I'm not playing Candy Crush. Like, yeah, what we do on our phones is really complicated too with our kids. So that's what I was going to bring up. Is I always think that the biggest thing with screens is we have to demonstrate for our kids good habits. Because I've heard plenty of parents who are like, we don't have a TV in the house, but then they're on their cell phone 24/7. Or, they're with, they're supposed to be hanging out with family or friends or kids, and they're just on their phone the whole time.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think our kids see that and they go like, that's how, and I think there are coping mechanisms built into this. And when people start to get uncomfortable, or, phones are complicated. They're super complicated with how people lean on them or use them. I think also too with our kids are so present. And that's, when we're on our cell phones and we're ignoring them, or they're feeling not heard or seen or interacted with.
Dad.
I struggle. Right.
Dad.
Yeah.
What?
Well, well, kids can't help but be present. They don't have screens yet. And so I know I try all the time, like when I'm with them, to not be on my phone a bunch, just because they're present. They're here. They're in this room right now. They want to talk. They want to play. They want to do stuff.
Mhm.
And so that can be tiring, though, because sometimes I need my own mental space for a little bit. Yeah. And I also agree, Derek, I was going to say that the slot machinification of apps.
Yes.
I know about that. The doom scrolling. This is something now I think that at least adults now we're talking about more. Like, you suddenly lift your head up after being on your phone for an hour and like, what did I even see? I can't even tell you what I watched. I just suddenly an hour's gone of my time, and I feel worse, and I feel like weird and dark, and that's bad stuff. But these things are meant to give you little dopamine hits, like a slot machine. And so I know, like, they're trying to trigger you. Time on screen. That's what all these apps are built to do. And if we don't know that ourselves, trying to keep our kids away from that stuff's going to be hard too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they're really susceptible to that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So another one, I think, we had a disclaimer at the beginning. If we're talking about how we try to implement this on our screen rules within our family, is like the using a screen as a babysitter.
Oh.
Which I know that it's frowned upon. I mean, I know that sometimes people need a break, or kids can be having a trouble. But I try to not do that. Like, I see people that are like, grocery shopping and their kid is on a phone, or they're at a table at a restaurant and their kid is on a phone and watching Bluey or something. But I think it's hard, but I think it's important for them to be bored. I think kids need to be bored.
Yeah.
I think for their mental, I think I need to be bored too. I think it's like not just them, it's also me, like my own well-being. I feel like I hit a point where I was listening to podcasts or music or something just all the time. I never had just quiet and thoughts. And I feel like that's a mental space that you need to have for your own mental well-being. That kids need to just be bored and to learn how to have a conversation. And what do you do at a restaurant? How do you have dinner and sit there and talk? Because it's way more boring than Bluey is. Bluey is awesome.
We have
that's hard to compete with.
We do have. We use we have a to-go bag, and my daughter has like crayons and coloring stuff and manipulatives in there, just to play with. Because we don't. I mean, Look, I'm terrible. You know, she used to want to have the phone at the grocery store and sit in the cart. She's too big to sit in the cart now, but she can't use the phone
Ow.
and walk
Did
around.
she push the cart?
She, well, I mean, you've seen her. She's pretty tall. She can almost see over it. But yeah, I mean,
Oh.
you're right. You're right. Like screens are sometimes used as babysitters. And look, I get it too. I'm guilty too. Like it, you know, I have these times where I'm home and I just need like 5 minutes, and I'm just like, Leo, you know, kiddo, stop. Just go on your iPad. Just go on your iPad for 10 minutes. Yeah.
So another rule we have is it's just a schedule, I think, that we keep, and it's kind of built around minimizing screen time. Like they come home from school, I know they're exhausted, but they have reading time for 20 minutes is something we started having now, where they both go and read a book for 20 minutes when they first get home to work on their reading. And then we have playtime where the girls can go and like they have a playroom and they play together and they just have like not screen time. We eat dinner and then they can go chill and relax and have like a little bit of video games, a little bit of screen time. Because like they're not home much during the week.
Yeah.
No.
It's like crazy. By the time they get home, it's not much. Like we're like, oh no, they're on their screen. I know at school they're getting screens, but like when they come home, and then that is just their unwind time. I see that as like, you know, it's like 30 minutes to an hour or whatever that they can go play a game, hang out, watch something on Netflix.
Yeah.
And just kind of be kids for a little bit before bedtime, which is probably bad. Watch someone who's listening be like, right before bed, what about blue light? Listen, people, this is our only screen time.
Listen, if my kid wants to watch Roll for Sandwich, shout out to Adventures in Art. Yeah, hopefully you watch it. If my kid wants to watch the new Roll for Sandwich, she can watch the new Roll for Sandwich. I think it's enjoyable too. And I got her to try new foods. So I'm going to pick up a little bit on there about scheduling, Ian. I think you said something really important about this idea of schedule. So my daughter's schedule is after school Monday is dance. Tuesday is OT. Wednesday is 2 dance classes. Thursday is gymnastics. And the way it's kind of scheduled is we have this Mondays and Wednesdays are our no screen day. So she doesn't get any screens until that one little video before bed. This has been tough because, you know, she wants to relax. Just like you said, she wants to relax. She wants to play Roblox with her friends. And this is kind of where we're implementing this in a weird way, because we also want her to be social with her friends outside of school. And sometimes the only way to do that is through video chat. And her and her friends video chat. And they're not doing anything, you know, bad. They're just talking. And sometimes they're playing Roblox and working together and stuff like that. So it's like a catch-22, right? But there are times, Mondays and Wednesdays. Mondays, she gets home at give or take 4:30-ish, does some homework, have dinner. Maybe we'll play a game. Maybe we'll dance. I've done this as part of
the heart of a dancer, Jay. I've always thought you are a dancer.
Like you should see it.
Kitchen dance party.
Yeah. But here's the thing.
Play a disco.
It's made me not want to do screens either. So I'll just, personal story, as part of my therapy, kind of been in therapy, and I have to do something good for myself, like have my own time. So I picked up my bass for the first time in 2 years.
What?
Yep. I picked up my bass for the first time in 2 years. Had a lot of stuff I wasn't playing. A slap in the bass. Shout out to Paul Rudd. But I've been playing bass. Now I'll have the screen on for the notes, but I'm not watching TV. I'm actually engaged in my playing. So it's time. You gotta manage the time, and you can schedule screen time too. It's okay. She needs it for homework sometimes. Very important to
that's a struggle. I mean, they're on screens all the time for legit uses now.
Right.
Like for us, screens were candy. For these kids, like the stuff that I had a big screen chat with my daughters today. How do they use them? What do they use them for? Math. Seems like they are both doing all sorts of math on there. Reading time, phonetics. I mean, this is interactive stuff. Labs for a science assignment that they couldn't do in person. You're not mixing chemicals, but you can mess around with like the universe on an app.
You don't go to the library anymore for a research paper. You don't know what the Dewey Decimal System is. You're looking up stuff on Wikipedia.
You
and
kids.
Online references.
You don't know how hard it was.
Do you know what an index card is? You got to look up the number, then you got to go to the stack, and then you got to find the book, and then ask the librarian where the book is.
But I mean, I sit in front of a screen for 8 hours a day, and then I go from this screen to another screen.
I know.
I get on the PS5 screen at night. So like, it's hard for me to say anything to I'm trying to keep it healthy for the kids.
Yeah. You just want to go
Yeah.
for a walk or something. To touch upon what you were
Yes.
talking about, Jay, though, I do think it's important that kids have hobbies.
Yes.
And I think learning toys and things they can gravitate to, whether it's sports or activities where they get to socialize, I think that's very important.
Yeah.
My son doesn't go to a public school. He goes to another school, and all his friends, they don't live close by. So we do fall into the dilemma of, if he's going to talk with his friends, he usually has to do it through the iPad or something to that effect, do GChat or something. But I really think that even having peer adults to, do activities with and learn, we get him this thing called Tinker Crate that comes every month, and he loves putting this together. It's like a science project that you do every month where you build something, and it comes with instructions and stuff. He's a Lego maniac. He loves it. So just doing these things, but it's all about balance. I really feel like you have to know what your kid's schedule is. You have to be involved in their life, knowing how much screen time they're getting at school, and knowing when they just need a break too. If my son's going to like the trampoline park and going to, the planetarium in one day at school, yeah, he could have some screen time when he comes home because he's gonna be exhausted. I'm not expecting him to go run around the block and, go play outside all the time. So we don't have a hard screen policy. Like, we don't have a screenless day, but we do try to play it by what's going on in his daily life, right? So, and we have to worry too, because my son's 12 and he's rapidly getting to that age where he's going to be going to high school, and he might need a phone.
Oh man!
Oh,
You just made me feel so
to
old.
that, like, I know it's coming to that time where we're trying to instill those good habits, and that's hard for me too, because like you were just saying, Ian, sometimes I'm even on a screen 7 hours during the day for my job, and then I come home like, oh, I'm gonna watch another screen. I just feel like that's just, oh, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But it's like a break from one thing and going to another. So
My time with other humans is precious.
yeah,
It's like, right now there are other people around. I work from home. I am alone.
yeah.
And like, I only interact through a screen. My only connection
Well,
with humanity.
think about this: is like we have such busy schedules as dads. This is how we get together. This,
Right? I know, even right now we're on a screen.
like this and movies, right? The next movie we're going to see is for my birthday, and that's a big deal. Like, because we're getting out of the house. It's like that's
in front of a screen
That's
together.
a
I know.
big deal. And Derek, I really like what you're kind of alluding to here, is that it's flexible. You always got to be a work in progress.
Yeah, it always
Although
has to be
you brought
progress.
something up, cell phone. What do we
Yeah.
think about when you have a cell phone? When I've heard the policy, no cell phone till middle school, no,
Yeah.
social media. until
I'm
high
thinking
school.
27.
I know, right? But I asked, and it seems like middle schoolers, I've heard around 90%, 95% all have phones.
Yeah.
Now, like, let alone a couple years when.
Oh, there's peers that my son has in his school that definitely have phones right now. I think, honestly, for me at least, and my wife shares the same point of view, is when it's necessary. So if he's going to have to call us to get a ride or pick us up or be in touch in some way, shape, or form where he needs to get a hold of us, I think when you actually need to use a phone for being a phone, not looking at memes all day. Because I feel like if he had a phone now, that would be what's happening.
I've seen parents do smartwatches as an in-between.
Yes.
A smartwatch that has LTE
Yes.
and can make a phone call or text us.
Yeah.
You need a
That-
ride?
Live
something like that.
Live 360, right? Live 360, so we can low jack our kids. My mom used to send me out on my bike and say, "Don't come home till the streetlights came on." And I used to bike all around Swampscott,
I was just telling this to my son the other day. Like, I lived in a town, and to get to like the bigger part of the city part of the town, I had to take my bike over a bridge that went over a highway. And I think like parents would be terrified of that now. He was like, "You rode a bike over a bridge?" I'm like, "Yeah." It was a couple miles even. He's like, "Oh my God." I'm
It'd be safer to send your kids to Mordor. It's
yes,
like,
oh my God. Right. That's what the journey looked like. Just going to Mordor. The back entrance to the eye. Gollum, he was helping us along the journey. But I feel that it's always a work in progress, but it's really, the key is to promote that independence.
Yep.
Right. You want your kid to have that independence. And sometimes I see the proof of that in like the projects he makes and things. And I just need to keep on. One of the things that I love about like some of the things that he does that isn't involved with screens after school is that like he's done amazing on like some of the science projects. I'm sure you guys have a lot of pride in like when Leora is doing her gymnastics. You just posted something that was really cool on Instagram before, Jay, of your daughter going off of the balance beam. I mean, it's those kind of things that give them and us a sense of pride. And so that's just the one thing I try to do, is to keep on encouraging, right? I think that is really important, our language as parents, to push them to do those things that in a good way. I don't mean like push. I mean like giving them the encouraging nudge that, hey, these things that you're doing hands-on are really great, and, do more of them. And, we love you for it, right? And you could, because how much time do we have, right, on this earth?
Whoa, you got philosophical.
I was thinking with them. So,
With them?
so my thought with screens is that, right, is that when I have my a couple hours with them after school, in between, like when they get home at bedtime, that's the only time I have with them all day.
Yeah.
And so I know I push myself to not be glued to my phone. And I think, a result of that is that we have a good relationship.
Yeah.
We have music and we're friends. And I think seeing my daughters and their friendship is like, I think that's something that is awesome to see, that they are friends and they joke and that they can play. They have imagination together and a bond together.
Isn't that the coolest?
I see that with their toys. They have imagination. And I think with a lot of these screens, there's not a ton of imagination.
No.
Yeah.
And right, so I think that's cool to see their creativity. And, I think my biggest fear is their own mental health. And as they get older to be teenagers, is like, are they stressed out? Are they glued to their phones? Are they, because I've seen this with some teenagers that like, do you have to reply right away? When you have a cell phone and suddenly everyone has access to you at all times. Your culture from your school is now in your hands at all hours of the night. I've heard a rule, maybe no phones in the bedroom at night. That's a thing, like, for kids to get good sleep, because if that phone's in there, they're going to be on it. And so the kids getting sleep and not having to deal with that.
We shouldn't do that either, honestly, but
but I need my TikTok.
I know.
You don't know how many times a day the words, "Can you please get off your phone? Can you please get off your phone?"
I was going to say,
comes out of my mouth.
Are they allowed to have them in their pockets? I think that's got to be so for your brain.
So we have it's a school policy that's kind of enforced, kind of not. I'm hoping when the state makes a law that, that phones can't be in the students' hands. Like the state's working on a law that will mandate a cell phone policy.
Wow.
I can just say, kids, the law says put your cell phones in the caddy. My whole thing as a teacher is I want them to be able to be responsible adults. I work with juniors and seniors, and they're older. Like I don't want to manage them like to the bathroom. I don't take, can I go to the bathroom? No, just go one at a time, make a list on the board, police it yourselves. I'm busy teaching. My job is not to be the bathroom police, right? I also tell them my job really shouldn't be to be the phone police. If you need to take a call in the middle of class, like it's your job, or if you're like, some of these kids are like their siblings only caregiver after school when their parents coming home from work, and they're adults and they're responsible, and it's not a huge deal, but sometimes they might need to, for work, they might need to take them. My kids are already on the job, right? My kids work.
Wow.
My kids, they're on a lot of them have co-op, and on the weeks that they're not in academics, they're in vocational. But sometimes, their boss calls them, and they shouldn't be calling at school. But I understand, maybe they can pick up a few hours after school, and the kids need that money. So, they be responsible about it. I'm fine. It's the same thing with my kid. It's tough to manage the phone the first couple of weeks and the screens. And she fought us on it. One day, it was a Wednesday. She came home sick. Just platen yourself in front of the TV and just rest. That's fine. You have to be, like you said, Derek, flexible.
Yeah.
You got to be flexible. And now she's doing it herself. Like today, cleaned her playroom.
Yep.
Of her own volition. Well,
Wow.
Partially of her own volition. She does want, she mentioned at one point, she wants this thing for her game that is, a house that she can design or whatever. And it's an add-on, microtransaction. But if she's going to be creative with it, and it's going to be in the time where she's allowed to use a screen, I'm cool with it. And I think that's a great place to end. Like we gotta be managing, but sometimes we just gotta be cool with it.
Balance,
Jedi.
I was true that right. No one's gonna do a Yoda.
Strong am I with the iPad, but not that strong.
Oh.
We're losing it.
Okay, sorry.
That's all our nerd cred. So, yeah, I think that's a good place. And I hope that, parents got something out of this and know that not everyone, is a perfect person that's going to talk down to you about your screen time. Just do your best. Just do your best.
Because the screens aren't going anywhere.
That's true.
No.
Thanks for joining us for this episode, Ditching Those Pesky Screens. Like any technology, responsible use is the key to success. We all feel comfortable letting our kids use screens, but it has to be appropriate and safe.
If you enjoyed this episode, please follow us on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify. If you already subscribed, share us with your friends.
And on our next episode, hey Homer, Peter, Danny Tanner, Mike Brady, we're talking about our favorite TV dads on our next installment of Dads on Screen. So many dads, so little time. Next time on 3-Dimensional Dads.
Exploring fatherhood in the next dimension.